Power rankings, the best time of the week. We're going to unveil my power rankings for this week, and then we're going to react to Colin Cowherd's herd hierarchy and see how they kind of match up. Usually they're pretty similar. Now, this week's wild. So this is last week's, as you can see here. This week is a big change because we have the Bills situation with Josh Allen's injury, and we have teams really starting to prove that they are not flukes or that they are kind of rounding into the teams that they will be kind of moving into the rest of the year. So I think, I've been on record saying that there's 3 or 4 really good teams in the NFL. That's kind of changed. This week. I think that now we're starting to get a deeper pool of like legit playoff teams. So let's go ahead and take a look at how they stack up this week. So, boom. Obviously, the Eagles stay 1. I mean, the Eagles have been the one true constant in the NFL. Like the Chiefs, great record, great performances, but a couple of overtime wins, a couple of games that they probably should not have won that they escaped with just because of Patrick Mahomes. The Titans game, great example of that. So even as good as the Chiefs have been, they have stumbled. The Eagles have yet to stumble. The Eagles have been incredibly consistent. They really haven't even had a game where they've kind of looked off. They always look in control. The Eagles are just playing at such a high level. The Vikings, a team I kind of handle or I kind of hit on every single week, they just keep winning. And now we have the big shift. Okay, the Bills. I had to drop them. Okay, I had to drop them because I'm assuming Josh Allen will miss time. He's got a UCL injury. He's had this injury before. I think he missed 4 weeks. He played with this injury in this game and threw the ball fine. But the Bills with Super Bowl aspirations, I would assume the Bills are going to sit him out. So with that being said, I think Case Keenum is a solid enough backup for a few weeks, very comparable or comparable, as some of my friends would say, to Cooper Rush, where, if Case Keenum rights the ship and Case Keenum gets 3 or 4 wins or whatever in the next couple of weeks, it's not that big of a deal. But if Allen is hurt for a long period of time, obviously the Bills aren't the same team with how incredibly reliant they are on Josh Allen's production. So I dropped them to 5. The Cowboys raise up. Cowboys still playing at a high level. I still like everything they have going on here. It's going to be interesting to see how they play against Green Bay. Going to Green Bay, Mike McCarthy's former stomping grounds. That'll be a very telling game in the NFC. The Ravens, they stay the same, I think. Yeah, they stay the same. A great performance against the Saints. We recapped that entire game in a video. Lamar is playing with scraps. I thought about moving them ahead of Buffalo, but they have injury concerns as well. Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, players like that. So I just kind of kept them where they are. The Niners, all right, everyone knows I love the Niners. They were at 8. I dropped the Giants out so they go up. The Dolphins playing well, but the Dolphins are one of those teams where I want to move them up higher, but they keep slipping. Like the Bears were it was a 3-point game. I think they ended up winning 35-32. They've done that where they seemingly dominate games, but then squeak one out. I mean, they did that with Detroit earlier in the season. It just seems to kind of be their MO. So I'm not sure if I can trust them right now, but I do love what Miami's doing. Everyone knows that. Now, the bottom 2 are the big changes. So if we look at neither one of these teams were in there. So I dropped Tennessee and dropped the Giants. Tennessee, tough loss against the Chiefs, but they did lose. I think Tennessee has a stranglehold on that division. Mike Vrabel, unbelievable coach, but I can't put a Malik Willis-led team in my top 10. And the Giants didn't play. I hate to punish a team for not playing, but out of all these teams, I think New York is the one I'm most the Giants are the ones I'm the most comfortable with saying are kind of fake, are not top 10 worthy. And with the Jets and Seahawks performances, I had to get them in there. The Jets, obviously, enormous performance beating Buffalo, huge win. I mean, I'm not even sure what to say about the Jets because they just don't seem to be that good, but they keep winning. So that someone has to get credit there, whether it's Zach Wilson or Salah or the defense or the pieces. Someone has to get, and they lost Breece Hall. I mean, that's another thing too, where they lost a guy who was basically their entire offense. They lost him. Michael Carter played well last week. Seattle, I don't know, man. Look, I bet on the Cardinals last week. I keep thinking Seattle's fake. I keep thinking Seattle's going to fall apart, and they just aren't. We talked about it last week. They're really built well. They're built well right now as long as Geno plays at a high level. He doesn't have to be MVP Geno. He just has to be above average Geno. If he's above average Geno with the rest of the team, the rest of the weapons, the way they're playing, the way the NFC West is kind of stumbling, the Seahawks, as much as I hate to say it, the Seahawks are a legitimate threat to win the NFC West, even with the Niners as much as I like them. I mean, right now, Geno is playing out of his mind. I mean, he's carrying this team. If Geno was on a lot of these teams, they'd probably be undefeated. I mean, he's playing that well. And the truth of the matter is, when you look at a team like, if we're looking at a fringe team like the Patriots, the Patriots are a fringe team, but what weapons do they have, right? Like what's their roster look like? If you look at the Seahawks, it's like, well, DK Metcalf, stud, even though he's hurt. Tyler Lockett, stud. Kenneth Walker, probably your offensive rookie of the year if Damian Pierce doesn't get there. The team is legitimate. They have weapons, so the Seahawks aren't fake. I mean, they aren't fake. They have a really tough game against the Bucs coming up in Germany. We'll see how that goes. I have already taken the Bucs, but I think the Seahawks are better than advertised for sure. All right, so you've seen my top 10. Let's go ahead and look at Collins, and we'll kind of bounce back and forth and react to what we're going to see here from Mr. Cowherd.
Spend a lot of time on this, probably too much. Says a lot about my social life. Here's my herd hierarchy.
Herd hierarchy.
Oh, J-Mac. I mean, he blows my mind every week. Great, best job in show business.
Now, let's go. The top 10 NFL teams according to College. Number 10.
Vegas can't figure them out. We can, the Seahawks.
Okay, I mean, they're right there. So, same. I mean, look, at some point, you have to just take the results for what they are. Not early in the season, but certainly right now. And again, a lot of this I'm basing on Geno. Geno, Jeremy Lin, that whole thing, that's always like the person who people harken back to with players who are just hot. Jeremy Lin was hot for like 2 weeks. Geno has been really, really good. He won't win it, but he's in the MVP conversation, and we're 10 weeks into the season. We're over halfway, and Geno is an MVP candidate. So I have no choice but at this point to believe that he has something figured out right now. And with how he's playing, with how he's getting these weapons involved, if they go and beat Tampa Bay and they're 7-3, beating Tampa, Geno beating Tom Brady, I mean, this team's legit.
Listen, 4-game winning streak, and they've won each game by over 10 points. They're blowing out teams. They have the #1 defense in the league.
And I didn't mention that. Their defense is getting better. Early in the year, I was very hesitant to put them high, that Wiz Khalifa style, because I was saying that their defense was historically bad. Well, guess what? Seattle's defense is upgraded. It's better. It's middle of the road to above average. Compared and complemented with their high-flying offense, team's legit.
Since week 6, and they have 43 scoring drives. Why? Kenneth Walker, great left tackle. Only the Ravens have more scoring drives this year in the league. Folks, I think they're for real. They're young. They're Pete Carroll's kind of team. Geno Smith is playing way above.
That's an interesting point as well. Pete Carroll needs young players. He needs buy-in from young players. Pete's a college kind of guy. He's an energetic coach. He needs his players to believe. That doesn't work well with veterans. That doesn't work well with people on $100 million contracts. It works well with islands of misfit toy type teams, and that's what he's got.
Of anything we thought Geno Smith could be, Seahawks deserve 10, maybe higher.
Number 9.
You watched the Ravens last night. You tell me.
This team should be higher. I'm surprised he doesn't have them higher. They're 6-3. They could easily be 9-0, 8-1. I mean, this team, and not to mention how injured they are. I mean, they beat Tampa. They beat the Saints. Like, they just are rolling. Doesn't matter who's hurt. Doesn't matter who's playing. You get Andrews back. I mean, the team's nasty.
I mean, that's not a top.
And Lamar isn't even playing that well right now. If he was playing like MVP Lamar levels, whoo.
Top 10 team, 3rd straight win, 2nd best turnover differential in the league, a top 5 offense. By the way, look at their schedule. J-Mac said this earlier.
Oh, J-Mac. Oh, God, what a nickname.
It is a lot of W's. I just think this team, the owner, the GM, the coach, the quarterback.
Something else to note I believe the Bengals schedule is pretty tough at the back end, and the Ravens is easy. So, I mean, the Ravens could end up winning this division.
I like everything about him. I don't even know why I doubted him last night. Shame on me. Big spots, they always come to play. They're physical, and you know what I think about Lamar Jackson. Pay him now. Don't wait.
Number 8.
The Dolphins. Is it Tua? Is it Tyreek Hill?
All right, so right now we agree. The Dolphins, I love their offense. I love Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle. I love Mike McDaniel. I love the scheme. I love the way they call plays. I love the way that they do everything offensively. They just got to figure out how to be a good football team. All right, they got to figure out how to blow people out, keep leads, finish games. Don't let people in the back door, Kim Kardashian style. Don't do that. If the Dolphins could figure out that part, I think they are a legitimate threat in the AFC. I think they are a legitimate threat to win the Super Bowl or to play in the Super Bowl if Buffalo misses Josh Allen for an extended period of time and Miami can play home games in the playoffs and they don't have to go through freezing Kansas City, freezing Buffalo, whatever. If they can keep games in Miami, I really believe the Dolphins can go to the Super Bowl this year.
Is it both? They're 6-0 when Tua is healthy. I don't think their defense is playing up to par, but they've got people in the right spot. Left tackle, edge rusher, star receivers, nice corners. Do you know Tua leads the NFL in passer rating? Now,
let me say this too. I think Tyreek Hill is underrated right now. I think he should be getting way more talk about being the offensive player of the year. I mean, he's right now, what's he on pace to have 2,100 receiving yards? It's insane. He is not getting the amount of shine that he should be getting.
Some of that's not.
I've heard more people talk about DeAndre Hopkins, who's played for 2 weeks, than Tyreek Hill.
Nonsense. I mean, last night, Dalton's passer rating wasn't, I think his QBR wasn't that much worse than Lamar's. So, yeah, passer rating, QBR, I don't know.
Throw them out. Tip from me to you. QBR is a completely made up ESPN stat. Passer rating's even more outdated. Do not use either one of those stats.
All I know is this.
Colin,
on third down. They're not asking Tua to do stuff he can't do. Miami looks the part. Now Josh Allen's all banged up. We know the Patriots don't have the weapons on the outside. I think it's a playoff team. I wouldn't want to play them in Miami. I got to have the Dolphins at 8.
Number 7.
Dallas Cowboys. Listen, I like Dak, don't love him.
They should be higher. I like Dak in this mode. Like, I like where Dak does not have to be the MVP. I like where he is just basically Jimmy Garoppolo. He's just a safer version or a better version of Jimmy Garoppolo. Basically what he is. Relying on the defense. Now, the biggest hurdles the Cowboys have are all off the field. Hurdle 1, Mike McCarthy. Hurdle 2, Kellen Moore. Hurdle 3, Jerry Jones forcing Ezekiel Elliott to be the starting running back over Tony Pollard and forcing roster decisions. If those 3 things got changed, whoo, baby, this really would be America's team.
But man, they got a lot of nice pieces. The edge rusher, the star linebacker, the star back, star receiver, star corner. They have the best.
I mean, the star back's a bit much. Bit much.
Sack differential in the NFL. And they have 7 giveaways all season. I'll say this for Dak. He doesn't turn it over. They don't put the ball on the carpet. If you win the turnover battle in this league, you win like 3 out of 4 games.
It is like 70%. If you can win the turnover battle every game, you will win like 70% of the games. That's huge. And with as safe as Dak can be when he's not pressed to try and, win shootouts, I think you're seeing that paired with an incredible defense and probably the defensive player of the year. There's no reason this team can't make noise in the playoffs.
Dallas has earned it. I have my misgivings about Mike McCarthy. That'll probably surface in a big postseason game or a late season game, but right now Dallas is 7.
Number 6.
I like Minnesota in the preseason. I like them.
Pretty low right here. I'm not going to lie. This is pretty low for a 7-1 team. It goes to show what people think about Kirk Cousins. Because if this was the Niners, if the Niners were 7-1, Colin would probably have the Niners at 1. If the Cowboys were 7-1, they wouldn't be 6. So I think this is a little low for the results that they've given us this far. Now, they've won a lot of close games. Good thing. They didn't used to do that. Now they are. Bad part, what if you flip those couple of those coins? Then all of a sudden, is this really a 4-4 team in sheep's clothing? Is this really closer to a 5-3 team? Like, what are we actually working with here? You know, are they a true 7-1 team? I'm not sure about that, but they are 7-1. So I have to give them a little bit of credit, even if I do hold back a little tiny bit of reservations.
Now, they're 6-0 in one possession games. You're not going to win all of those, but TJ Hawkinson feels like an absolute in-division steal at times.
Huge steal. Great steal. It wasn't necessarily their issue. Like, I think they got better with him. Obviously, you don't get worse when you get a really good player. But how much does it push, you know, how far does it push them from where they were before? Maybe not that much. I will say about the close game thing. So they're 6-0 or whatever in close games. You don't win them all, true, but they have won them all. And the thing is, how many more left will they have? If you told me they're going to have 2 left and they lose both of them, they're 6-2 in close games, that's fine, right? You can't expect, like, maybe the close games are over until, now granted, close games in the playoffs are almost every week, so that's going to be a big part of that. Also, we know about Kirk Cousins' primetime struggles. Playoff games are in primetime. I'm basically putting a governor on the Vikings because I don't believe they can go to the Super Bowl. I don't believe they can go win a Super Bowl. So in the back of my mind, I always have that going on. But right now, if we're doing a week-to-week power ranking, they should certainly be higher than 6.
Tight end. They're on a 6-game winning streak. They have a pass rush this year. Last year, they fell apart physically. This year, they're healthier. They have a 4.5-game lead in their division, so they'll be able to maybe rest starters post-Thanksgiving. Vikings at 6.
Number 5.
The Bills. I moved them down last.
All right, so we nailed this one. I think this is correct. I think this is, I mean, with Josh Allen's injury, Case Keenum, how many weeks is it? If you told me Josh Allen was out for the remainder of the year, I think the Bills are still probably 10-9, somewhere in there. They basically just turned to the Jets. They're basically a very similar version where they're efficient. They know what they want to do, but they don't have that person captaining them. I don't think Case Keenum can captain the Bills, as I don't think Zach Wilson is captaining the Jets. So just kind of putting that out there, where I think if we do see a long-term injury, that's probably where they'll slide. Unless Case Keenum is terrible, I don't see this team dropping to the, 14th, 15th. They're not a middle-of-the-road team, even without Josh Allen.
Last week, I moved him down again this week. They're too dependent on Josh Allen. Do you know he has 8 picks and 13 turnover-worthy plays? Only Matt Ryan.
This is another part. Let's take the injury away. Okay, let's pretend like he doesn't get hurt. I do think you drop them. I don't think you go to 5, but I do think you have to drop them because they just are not giving us results. Like, we heard about how dominant they were, but since Miami, since that loss, they have not been good. Even when they win, they have not been good. And when a team is as reliant as they are on one player, I've said this before with Baltimore, when that one player is not great, the team really suffers. If Josh Allen is not playing at an MVP level, I'm not sure if the Bills can get over that hump because they are all in on just Josh Allen. They desperately have to get him some help. They desperately have to get other people involved. I don't think they can do that this year. Trade deadline's over. This may be something they look for in the future because I highly doubt the team as it's currently constructed, unless Josh Allen turns into Superman, I highly doubt this team can get over the hump.
Ryan's got more. I love him, but you got to give even your star quarterback help. That's why Kansas City always has some semblance of a run game behind Mahomes.
I mean, if you look at the roster, if Hawkinson went to Buffalo, if Brandon Cooks, a player like that, went to Buffalo at the trade deadline, this team is so much better. If Raheem Mostert or any player like that, Tony Pollard. I mean, if a Christian McCaffrey, it doesn't even have to be a huge player. Just someone, like I said, like Raheem Mostert, someone of that ilk. If that's your running back versus what they're dealing with now, those are huge upgrades that were on the table.
Yes, they have the #1 total offense. Yes, they're the Mike Tyson of the league. They knock out people. But if you're looking for playoff teams that will succeed, you've got to have some nuance and can't be totally dependent, even if the guy you're dependent on is Josh Allen. Bills at 5.
Number 4.
Niners, in my opinion, when healthy, have the best roster in the league.
Probably, but it's close. It's closer than I thought before because other defenses are incredible, like the Cowboys. And then there's other offenses who are incredible. I think the Niners probably have the best combo, the highest ceiling. I put it like that. The highest ceiling of the combo. If their offense is clicking like we saw Christian McCaffrey a couple weeks ago, I mean, what are you going to do? If their defense is clicking at the level it was earlier in the season, what are you going to do? I don't think Dallas has the ceiling offensively as the 49ers, but their floor isn't as low. And that floor is low because of Jimmy Garoppolo. I love Jimmy, but I'm starting to kind of wane. I'm not going to lie. I'm starting to kind of wane on my Niners love because other teams are just showing me a lot right now. I need the Niners to get into another gear. They have to give me 3 or 4 wins in a row for me to be really confident about continually saying that this is the best or one of the 3 best rosters in the NFL.
Do you know they have the fewest 3rd and outs in the NFL? And you don't like Garoppolo. And he hasn't had many of his weapons.
It felt like a personal attack. I love Jimmy, okay?
Now they're getting healthy. Here comes their fullback. Here comes Deebo Samuel. Here comes Elijah Mitchell. Number 1 total defense, fewest 3 and outs. They're just banged up. I don't know what it is, but they've been banged up for 3 or 4 years with Kyle Shanahan, but they're getting healthy. Watch out.
Number 3.
A team today that I think
I don't know. I mean, I don't even have the. This was a big one. Okay, admittedly, this was a big one. So the Bengals, I like, but the Bengals are way too of that team who, when they play lower competition, they're the best team of all time. When they play better competition, they're not very good at all. That's just how they've been. They're really, really good. They're really good when they go down. When they step down, they're really good. Let's take a look here. So, Steelers loss, Cowboys loss, Jets win. Granted, the Jets were not great then. Dolphins, this was without Tua. Ravens loss, Saints squeaked one in. Falcons win, Browns loss, Panthers W. So if you look at those W's, right? Panthers, Falcons, Saints, Tua-less Dolphins, and the Jets. I don't know. They're going to have to. These games right here, Chiefs, Browns, Bucks, Patriots, Bills, Ravens, first of all, it's a hellacious end of the season. But they are going to have to show me something here for me to think they're that good. I don't think they're even close to being the 3rd best team in the league. Not even close. I'd make the argument, if I had to put them in, they'd be probably 9 or 10.
Ends up in the AFC Championship against Kansas City, Cincinnati. If they can run the ball, Chiefs could be in trouble, but it's been inconsistent.
No, it has been inconsistent. It's been terrible against teams that aren't the Panthers.
Underrated defense in the league. They just don't have stars, so you don't talk about them. Joe Burrow's completing 70% of his throws. When you can crush people without Jamar Chase, what does it tell you? Burrow leads the NFL since week 1 in 20 touchdowns. Again, this is a really good defense without stars. Maybe I'm overvaluing them, but
He is. I mean, like, how good are they? Are they the 4th best defense in the NFL? Because they're not better than the Niners. They're not better than the Cowboys. Are they the 3rd best defense? Is like, where do you really have this defense? Where do you have this team? Because I understand what he's saying, but for him to put them at 3, he has to think they are so good. Because the Bengals just have not proven it in a game this year that they are worthy of being the 3rd best team in the NFL.
I think when they're at their best, Kansas City could be in trouble.
Number 2.
The Chiefs. Chiefs are great. In Andy, I trust. In Patrick Mahomes.
Chiefs are really good. And Andy Reid, probably the best coach currently in the NFL. And I do agree with this. I mean, we talked about this earlier where they stumble at times, but Patrick Mahomes bails them out. They are a winning culture. And in the regular season, that doesn't matter that much. In the playoffs, it matters a lot. If it's a tied game with 5 minutes left, I don't care who they're playing. I'm expecting the Chiefs to win. That's just who they are. That's just how they're built. That's just the culture they have. That's just who Patrick Mahomes is. It doesn't matter who the receivers are. It doesn't matter who they're playing. It doesn't matter where they're playing. They're going to be there. There's no reason they should have beat the Titans, but they do. They just are that kind of team. Patrick Mahomes is doing a Tom Brady where he does not have those star players anymore, but he's still getting the most out of these players. I do like how Juju is becoming kind of that go-to guy outside of Travis Kelce. Please don't tell Kyrie Irving I said that. I do like that. If Juju Smith can become a true number one or something close to a number one and get something off of Travis Kelce, that's enormous. Their backfield is a disaster. Pacheco or whatever his name is, I know people are high on. I'm going to have to see it. Otherwise, they may have to go back to Allaire or somebody. Their backfield is a mess. Patrick Mahomes should not be the highest rating, should not be the leading rusher for this team if they really want to win the Super Bowl.
Mahomes I trust, but opposing quarterbacks are averaging a 101 passer rating. How would Joe Burrow do? I worry about the back end of their defense. They also start slowly. Now, Cincinnati does too, but Kansas City has this history. They're 4-0 this year when they trail by 8+ points. Why would they trail by 8+ points? An apathy? Do they save plays for later? I do think right now they should be favored to get to the Super Bowl, but Cincinnati could be a really interesting matchup for them. They've got the defense.
I think the matchup is like Miami. I think the matchup is way more interesting as a Miami. A team that can really shoot, like go toe-to-toe with them shootout-wise, but who's got a better defense?
That'll travel well to Arrowhead, KC2.
Number 1.
What do you want me to say? I didn't think Nick Sirianni could coach. I had my doubts about Jalen Hurts. Now, here's what worries me about Philly. They've won the turnover battle every week. And as Jason and I have talked about, that's
the only thing that can worry you about Philly is what's going to happen whenever it's a 31-28 game and a really good quarterback's on the other side, and they're going to have to win a game in the last 3 minutes.
kind of random. Like some years the fumbles go your way, some years the fumbles don't, but they're also creating some of those turnovers. But I like we said before the season, we picked them to win their division. Their O-line, D-line combination could be the best in the league. I think they've earned the number 1 spot.
Agreed.
I don't know if they'd match up in a shootout with the Chiefs or the Bills or the Bengals.
I think they're better than I think they match up fine against those two teams, to be honest.
But right now
they're so much better than the Bengals.
1. Higher.
The Eagles are the number 1 team. They've been the most consistent team. They've proven it week in and week out. They deserve the number 1 spot for sure. Colin, great video. Thank you for watching. Drop the comment below of who you think is the top 10. Where did Colin get it right and I got it wrong? Where did I get it right and Colin get it wrong? See you next time. Thanks for watching.